Hey, T-Suppers. Hey. Oh, no, not that one. I don't know if I need to leave that like that there. Baby, his ass is in trouble. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Ooh. Come on in. He just can't help himself. That's all I'm gonna say. He just can't help himself. Hey, Crystal. Hey, hey. He can't help himself. He's steady digging the hole. I want to know how long we think Pam Bondi got. I hope they don't back out and they stay the course with Trump, because this is crazy. This is crazy. The disrespect is just outrageous. The lies and the deceit, it is just outrageous that this has been going on for so long. And I don't know if I want to believe that these people didn't know that he was, I mean, I'm almost trying to understand what part of it have them now, you know, standing up for folk. What part did it? Shit. He been everything that we saying he is now. He been that. He been fooling with minors and grabbing coochies and shit. I mean, what? No, I don't understand people. I don't. I'm glad they came to their senses, but I really believe deep down in my heart that it really was that Social Security and Medicaid, Medicare, you know, because sometimes people want to believe that it's just the majority of non-Caucasian that gets assistance or is needy, and that is not the case. It is. It's just not the case, and a lot more people that vote for him that gets assistance than he realized. Now, on the back of that, big ugly bill, on the back of veterans, on the back of deportation of U.S. citizens, on the back of that, this was just the straw that said, okay, enough. You have lied, and it's just no way around it. Last night I was listening to a guy speak. Y'all come on in, hitting the like button for me, please. And when I was listening to him speak, he was being challenged. Him and a lady. It was a lady. Oh my gosh, she was just going in about hold on, let me let y'all listen. You know, a lot of people don't know how things are set up. I'm gonna let y'all listen. A lot of people don't realize that prior administration, some of the laws that are in place was not implemented by the current administration. It's a carryover. A lot of people don't realize that. So this lady was going in on, she thought it was the Biden administration is why she was paying these extra taxes and shit. Hold on while people come in. Come on in, hit the like button, please. And she was going in and in and in. Now, I know I sent it to myself, whistleblower. Oh, yeah. Here she go.
Democratic rule. That is horrible, horrible, horrible. We've had more taxes. We paid more for everything.
Wait, you think that taxes?
Part of the deal game.
You think that taxes have been like really high in the last 4 years, right?
It's not just that. We paid for everything. We, the middle income America, was paying for the Democratic. All this.
I just want to clarify. You didn't like Biden and Harris's tax code.
I did not.
Would you ever vote for it again?
No.
Under any circumstances?
No.
It was Trump's tax code.
No, it was Obama's. It was Obama's.
In 2017, Donald Trump passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in which was his tax code and set to expire this year, meaning under the entire Biden-Harris administration, we were under Donald Trump's tax code. You just told us that you hated that tax code and you never vote for it again under any circumstances.
I would never vote for a Democratic regime ever.
So it had nothing to do with what they were doing and all to do with the fact that they're Democrats. Party over country every single day you're a member of a cult.
Last 4 years, we've been held hostage under the Democratic rule. That is horrible, horrible, horrible. We've had more taxes. We paid more for everything.
Wait, you think that taxes?
Part of the deal game.
You think that taxes have been like really high in the last 4 years, right?
It's not just that. We paid for everything. We, the middle income America, was paying for the Democratic.
I have no idea.
All this.
I just want to clarify. You didn't like Biden and Harris's tax code.
I did not.
Would you ever vote for it again?
No.
Under any circumstances?
No.
It was Trump's tax code.
Trump's tax code.
It was Obama's.
No,
In 2017, Donald Trump passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, in which was his tax code and set to expire this year, meaning under the entire Biden-Harris administration.
She's crazy. Trump came after Obama. I mean, it was Obama, then Trump, then Biden. So if it was Biden and Harris was in office, then that means that tax cut came. I mean, that tax code was set by the prior administration, which would have been Trump. So she done jumped from Biden to Trump. No, it was Obama's. Blame it on the black guy. Blame it on. Yeah.
Administration, we were under Donald Trump's tax code. You just told us that you hated that tax code and you never vote for it again under any circumstances.
I would never vote for a Democratic regime ever.
So it had nothing to do with what they were doing and all to do with the fact that they're Democrats. Party over country every single day you're a member of a cult.
Last 4 years, we've been held hostage under the Democratic rule.
You've been held hostage by the person that you voted for. It just blows my mind that people have no idea how the process go, and then they be thinking that he didn't do anything for us. Are you crazy? Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on, I have another one like that. I mean, somebody just going off, have no idea what they're talking about, have no idea that the suffer or the taxes or the increase, have nothing to do with the administration that you think it is. Where was that other one? It was a good one. Oh, it was a good one too. Oh, this one. Him.
I liked his words, and I like he did everything he said he was going to do, and he did it.
So what are some of those things that he said and then he did? Just one thing he said and then he did.
He caught me off guard there.
Caught him off guard. off guard. What did he?
I liked his words, and I like he did everything he said he was going to do, and he did it.
But what are some of those things that he said and then he did?
He
just one thing he said and then he did.
He caught me off guard there.
Caught me off guard there. Y'all following behind.
I like he did everything he said he was going to do, and he did it.
But what are some of those things that he said and then he did? Just one thing he said and then he did.
One thing he said that he was going to do that he did. Can you give me one? Can you give me one thing that he said he was going to do and he did it? I love it. What did he say he was going to do and did? Tell us. Help us out, please. Please, please, please. Yeah, his ass in trouble, y'all. His ass is in trouble. Sitting. What was the other one I saw? Oh, poor Rosie O'Donnell.
The beef between you and Donald Trump go back to the days of when you were a talk show host comedian.
He had The Apprentice, which was all fiction.
Yes.
And a lot of people in America didn't know that it was fiction because they sold him as America's biggest successful businessman, and he had been bankrupt 6 times. And he had lots of charges of sexual abuse against him. And he is, known for lying and for corruption. And he had a charity that he and his family now can never do a charity again in New York because they stole money from children who had cancer. All you need to find out these facts is a computer, people. I am not an investigative journalist. I simply lived there my whole life. And in New York, where he grew up as well, we're around the same age. I'm 63, he's 107. Is that what he is? I'm not sure. But, and so I've known who he was from the get-go.
But a lot of male chat show hosts were saying the same things that you were.
Yes.
But it was just you just got under his skin.
And it's almost 20 years since that show.
And he's still, to this day, at the debate,
they said to him, you call women pigs, gross, disgusting, fat, ugly. And he said, no, only Rosie O'Donnell. To roarious applause and laughter in the audience. And I was at home with my kids watching it going, how do you explain this?
A lot of people said they would leave should Trump become president. You did leave for reasons of safety. What was happening to you in the streets?
Well, it wasn't so much in the streets, but after he won, I was in CVS with my child, and 2 different people, one with a MAGA hat and one a Trump supporter, came over and told me with curse words that their guy won. And, said the F word in front of my child, who said, why are people cursing at us? And I said, well, remember I told you that there was a guy who was not so nice and he's running for president again? Remember when you were a little baby and he was the president and everything went wrong? She said, yes. I said, well, he's back now. And she said, so it's time for us to go.
The beef between you and Donald Trump go back to the days of when you were a talk show host comedian.
He had The Apprentice, which was all fiction.
Yes.
And a lot of people in America didn't know that it was fiction because they sold him as America's biggest successful businessman, and he had been bankrupt 6 times. And he had lots of charges of sexual abuse against him. And he is, known for lying and for corruption. And he had a charity that he and his family now can never do a charity again in New York because they stole money from children who had cancer. All you need to find out these facts is a computer, people. I am not an investigative journalist. I simply lived there my whole life. And in New York, where he grew up as well, we're around the same age. I'm 63, he's 107.
I think I got one more before we, and I think this one, I don't know if I sent it to myself. Hi, Agent. Rosie still thinks she's the world's most beautiful. Oh, she didn't say that. No. Agent Smith, it sounds like you got that Trump spirit. Excuse me. You got a Trump spirit. Where's that other one I was looking at? Oh, okay. Is this it? She exposed Epstein. No, this was about a lady. Oh, okay. This was okay. Maybe I didn't send it to myself. Let's hear this. This was recent.
Donald Trump's pressure campaign to try to get rid of Jay Powell before his term expires as the chairman of the Federal Reserve on May in 2026. First of all, there's a giant brick wall at the end of the road that most reporting completely ignores. It's that the United States Supreme Court, who, for all intents and purposes, is
she's honest.
pocket, even they, in May this
she's honest to me,
said that he's not going to be able to fire Jay Powell without cause. I'll read to you from the actual quote. It's from a case involving Gwen Wilcox, who used to be the head of the National Labor Relations Board, but no longer. They went out of their way, the majority, the 6-3 MAGA majority, to put a ring fence around Jay Powell. Even the credit rating agencies like Moody's, who rate the credit, it's like the credit score for America. It determines how much we have to spend more, what the interest rate's going to be for our borrowing. Even they said if Jay Powell is knocked off by Donald Trump, it will lead to a downgrade of our credit rating.
Oh, wow.
And my rest ever.
He's just angry.
What is that?
He's just angry.
Powell is knocked off by Donald Trump, it will lead to a downgrade of our credit rating. So Donald Trump, knowing that, now he's throwing around the F word.
So
because he knows.
Okay, Agent. So people can't have an opinion? Agent Smith, you have a problem where people have an opinion? Well, she seems to have a beautiful spirit. Just like you seem to have a Donald Trump spirit. Just like you said that Rosie O'Donnell, what did you say? Still thinks she's the world's most beautiful. That was your opinion. Mrs. Tom has an opinion. You have an opinion. But let me tell you something, Mr. Smith. She's a regular. And you're not. And what you're not going to do is come in and try to intimidate my regulars. Now, I don't know who you are. But you need to come back another day. How about that? Because what no sir, you are the one that's combative. You come in attacking, and you are a guest here. You don't know how to be a guest. So you come back another day when you know your manners. Okay, bye bye. Y'all say bye. Bye to ASS Ho Smith. Bye. No, you will not. No, sir. No, sir. Hey, Queen Lakers, thank you. Oh, no, sir. Let me check you real quick at the door. Don't take your shoes off. Don't take your jacket off. Don't get comfortable. Get your ass up on out of here. Yes. Try the spirit by the spirit. You got checked. Bye. Miss Tom, say bye. Say bye. Bye. No, sir. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He tried it. He tried it. Bye. Queen Lakers, he didn't know. He gonna learn today. He gonna learn today. Now carry on. How dare you?
Like Moody's, who rate the credit. It's like the credit score for America. It determines how much we have to spend more, what the interest rate's going to be for our borrowing. Even they said if Jay Powell is knocked off by Donald Trump, it will lead to a downgrade of our credit rating.
And they're going to ask me why am I combative.
Donald Trump, knowing that, now he's throwing around the F word because he knows, even though he's doing things like, I've got a resignation letter, demand for his resignation letter in my back pocket, and he's hit the button on all his MAGA social media influencers and peddlers to like every day, every hour. You can say it. You can tell it's the theme of the day to attack Jay Powell, to make him leave. So right on cue.
Yep.
Here's what we've been watching. Now remember, brick wall, Gwen Wilcox case, Supreme Court, just from this May. I'm going to read it to you from.
He's trying to intimidate any and everybody.
That's going to stop Donald Trump, even Donald Trump, from firing Jay Powell. Doesn't mean he's not going to stop his pressure campaign to make him quit. A terrible impact on the economy for voters, for people that care about kitchen table, pocketbook.
Oh, now please don't let him hit the button.
You don't want Jay Powell to leave. That's why they're left with he overspent.
Yeah, I hope
Reconstruction.
Federal
Reserve.
I hope they go ahead and start the impeachment. How many times do you have to be impeached for them to remove your roly-poly? Let me double check while he talking. Because they are not, please don't let They already know he's a ticking time bomb. And everybody, I hope they playing in his face. I hope that they trying to get it together to impeach him on out. Because he, to me, in my opinion, is an enemy of the state. He done made all type of deals with predators and other foreign countries playing the end against the middle. Let me, while we
That's
playing
why we
this.
should get rid of Jay Powell.
Yeah, right.
Insane. But here is the drum beat that Donald Trump has been running. He brings a bunch of MAGA Republican legislators into the White House to talk about crypto. But while he's there, he's like, I have a letter that's been drafted for his resignation. Do you think I should do it? Do you think I should do it? Now, apparently the person that's really drumming this drum to get rid of him is William Pulte. Pulte Homes, big construction contractor building single-family homes throughout the Southeast. Well, he's now the head of Freddie Mae and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, a lending, quasi-public-private lending institutions.
I think he got 2 impeachments already. I need to know how many is needed to get his ass
he's
out.
Been pumping him on his social media, saying there's fraud in the development or the renovation of the Federal Reserve building. Now, right on cue, then you get the legislators together in the Oval Office, and you get one of them who's doing like real-time reporting, like it's like an in-game bet for one of these sports books. You've got Anna Luna from Florida. When she's not busy telling Donald Trump that he should be releasing all the Epstein files, she's there saying, oh, I'm in the meeting now. Jerome Powell's definitely being canned as Federal Reserve Chairman. Now, this letter gets drafted. Donald Trump denies it, by the way, when he gets hit by the media with it. Did you have a letter calling for his resignation, demanding his resignation? No, I don't have a letter. Yeah. Well, apparently the letter's out there. Pulte released it. Pulte drafted it for Donald Trump's signature. Trump showed it to everybody in the room. Then he's got who should be the ones trying to tether this administration to planet Earth. A couple of guys that used to work on Wall Street. One of them, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, that used to run until he sold it off to his sons, a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, and another one, Scott Bessent, who's your Treasury Secretary. They're campaigning. Scott Bessent's like, well, if Jay Powell is steps down or is fired or is removed by the 26th of May as the chairman, even though his governorship, because this is a board of governors,
been
even if his
elected,
governorship
yeah.
goes 2 more years, it would be very awkward for him
The
to
U.S.
stay
did that
after he was
wrong.
removed as
Yeah,
chairman.
they-
I don't think he should do that. So you got Scott Bessent, who's on the short list by Donald Trump to be the Fed chair, campaigning now to get rid of the Fed chair. There's a couple of other guys, all white men, that Donald Trump wants to put there instead. And all Donald Trump cares about is to have low interest rates, cheap money to bail out his failed economic policy. That's it. There's a reason he doesn't call it, and no one in the administration calls it Trumponomics, like Reaganomics. You know why they don't call it Trumponomics? Because it sucks. Because it's failing. Because the tariff scheme brought in just $50 billion after we just got rid of $3 trillion worth of tax revenue. $50 billion of these
So the
lame brain
Constitution
tariffs
gives
is not going to
Congress the
fill,
power
it's not going
to
to close the
impeach
gap.
federal officials.
Like, yeah, we got an extra $1
An
million
official
out
can
of
be
Vietnam.
impeached for treason,
Okay,
bribery,
great.
and other high crimes
What
and
about
misdemeanors.
corporate tax revenue?
The House of
What about
Representatives
high net
bring
worth tax
articles
revenue?
charges of
How are we going to
impeachment
pay the
against the
Social Safety
official.
Net, which is Donald Trump,
If
of
the
course, is
House
busy
adopts
destroying?
the article
So right on
by a
cue,
simply
he's got the
majority
Laura
vote,
Loomers of the world,
the
you know,
officials
Looney
have
Loomers
been
out there
impeached.
with her. So
The Senate
why he
holds an
listens to her?
impeachment
She has
trial.
no body of work. She's accomplished nothing in her life
In the
other than
case,
she's got a big mouth and
the
she puts it
President
into
of
the
the U.S.
keyboard.
Supreme Court Chief
But she
Justice
loves, I mean, she
presides.
literally says, "I love Donald Trump," and Donald Trump loves her. So they're mooning over each other.
Y'all
And
please
he
hit the
uses
like
her
button.
as a you know, like Tokyo Rose.
I think he got
to,
2
like, come up with all
articles
this
of
propaganda
impeachment.
and go after his enemies or create new enemies. So she goes after Pamela Joe Blondie. That's what she calls her because she wants her out of there. And then, you know, Bondi just fired James Comey's.
Or Biden. We're not talking about Biden.
Prosecutor daughter, Maureen.
That's not what we're talking about. Biden's name is not in my title. Stay on topic.
Comey's prosecutor daughter.
We talking about
You know, she's just working her ass off.
how many
Partisan in New York as a prosecutor. She wins some. She
He didn't
loses
hang
some.
out with a
She wins
pedophile.
Zane Maxwell. She loses the Diddy trial, at least the big racketeering count, and she gets fired. But no, Laura Looney Loomer. Oh no, the son has to be fired too. Why? Why can't they have independent?
how many
judges?
he didn't hang out with pedophiles.
But that's where-
pedophiles.
so Laura Loomer's going after Jay Powell. And he got all this going on. So I went to my 40th high school reunion recently, and while many of my classmates were excited about
Why are you not concerned about that?
Well, I brought my infant daughter.
Julio, why are you not
And I
concerned?
went the
Why are
youngest
you not concerned about your current administration covering for a pedophile? Why are you not concerned about that? I mean, that's a current situation, right? That's a current affair. You don't went back to something that was previous. Talk to me about the pedophile and his partners and the card and the letter. You want to talk about that? If not, come back another day when we're talking about Biden, okay? Okay.
Child contest. But no, Laura Looney Loomer. Oh no, the son has to be fired.
Stay on
too.
topic.
Why? Well, why can't they have independent jobs independent from your hatred of James Comey? But that's for another day. So Laura Loomer's going after Jay Powell, and he got all this going on. So I went to my 40th high school reunion recently, and while many of my classmates were excited about retiring or have retired, well, I brought my infant daughter to the reunion, and I won the youngest child contest hands down. But that means that when most people's working is winding down to match their body's energy levels, I need to ramp up to keep up with my baby
said,
daughter. I believe
"Mama."
the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is qualia senolytic. And here's why. Qualia senolytic is at the front. Here's how it works. You take it just 2 days a month. Help experience this reported on at the time. This is Trump versus Wilcox. It was only a 3-page opinion because it was one of those emergency applications, you know, where they make a decision, where they act like they didn't really make a decision, but they made a decision that helped Trump, letting him firing people. And the big issue there was, what kind of agency is it? They're all created by Congress, But if Congress also puts in a for-cause termination requirement before you can get rid of the board, does that impair the executive branch's authority? Once you've created an executive branch agency, can you tie the executive, the president's hands, to make him, to limit his ability to fire at will by Congress? In other words, you can give birth to the agency as an executive agency, but can you control it after you've given birth, so to speak, and given it to Donald Trump? I mean, giving birth to something that results in handing it off to Donald Trump, I know is a disastrous metaphor, but go along with me for a minute. Once it's handed off to Donald Trump, can you as Congress limit what he can do with that agency in terms of hiring and firing? And in the Wilcox case, the Supreme Court said that in certain types of agencies, you can't limit the president's ability to fire only for cause. So he can fire whoever he wants. Even the ones that were created for nonpartisan purposes that weren't supposed to be political, they allowed this political process to infect it, except with one or two limited exceptions.
Right, Kevin.
And one of them in particular was the Federal Reserve. So here was the Supreme Court, led by John Roberts, basically putting a ring fence to protect Jay Powell. Here's what they wrote. Finally,
he should have never been elected.
Cox and Kathy Harris, she was the head of the Merit Systems Protection Board, a similar agency where she got fired as well, contend that arguments in this case necessarily implicate the constitutionality of for-cause removal protections for members of the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors or other members of the Federal Open Market Committee. That's what Jay Powell heads.
And I don't want to believe, I honestly don't want to believe that that man up there was the best that the Republicans had to offer for the U.S. I just don't want to believe that they felt like, they absolutely felt like he was the best. There was no one out there better. They can't get a job at Walmart, Kevin. And I'm glad that they came to their senses and saying, whoa, hold up, pump our brakes. I mean, it's gone too far. He brought up, I mean, such a hypocrite. You already got cases and accusations against you about fooling with minors, women, just period. You were convicted, and they said he is the absolute best we have to offer. Wow. I mean, I just think, no disrespect to that, to that group of people, but that is just an insult. I mean, to me, that stoops to a whole different type of low. I mean, that's the absolute best. And y'all want us to believe that he didn't have any ties, any relationship, nothing with Epstein? Or that y'all had created such a monster that he felt like it didn't matter what. I mean, I know he believed he could say anything. He could put it in your face and people will still say, oh, he's the greatest. You just heard the man say, oh, he keeps his word. He kept his promise. It couldn't tell you one promise he kept. You heard the other lady talking about the tax code. We've been in bondage with this tax code. It's the more stuff, and didn't realize that she was still up under Trump's tax code. It just blows my mind how people are just walk around. He reminds me of, in my opinion, Jim Jones and the Guy in a Tragedy, and he just leading all these people. They just foolish just because. Just because. Yeah, shout out to the smart ones who have said, no, enough is enough. Shout out to the ones who are denouncing or renouncing him and saying, I cannot. I have daughters. I cannot. I have morals. I cannot. I have integrity. I cannot. I can no longer go along with this foolishness. And shame on the ones who continue to walk in this stupidity, because this is a leader who is not leading accordingly. Yeah. Shout out to them, because I was beginning to think, what in the world? I mean, come on, this the best y'all got? Hell, you might as well go to the federal penitentiary and take applications. I mean, for real, right? That's where the criminals are. I'm sure some smarter, more educated, you know, more in tune than this one. Hell, do a swap. Do a damn swap. And since y'all going in and getting criminals, yeah, he is harming a friend, Jay. He is harming as many people on purpose. See, that's the kicker. On purpose. Trump is a traitor. Helen, I said a traitor of the state, but you know, of the country is what I should have said. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really time for them to really start the trial of impeachment, because the longer he sits in office and he's bitter and angry, he's going to seek revenge on everybody. Yeah. So what we're not gonna do is make up nothing. Listen here, sweetheart, MB. If they had something on Obama, child, they'd have brought that out a long time ago. But that's why that is the ultimate reason of why he don't like Obama. He don't like Obama because he's smart and he's a good guy. And he did what he did to try to make sure everybody had equality. Yeah. So much so that a lot of African American people or black people was like, well, what can he just do for us? No, he's about equality. And people act like he could just pass laws and make changes without having to go through the proper chain of command. See, the difference is that he followed the rules. He didn't just try to break them. Yeah. Hi, Jerry. Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, they may want to go into the federal prison penitentiary and take some applications, because it's time to replace that. Because they you know, Republicans don't believe in laws. Yeah, but that's what he's supposed to. There's no way it could be laws and order or law and order when you got a criminal trying to implement law and order. He's against the law. And y'all kill me bringing up people that we're not talking about. We are talking about this criminal right here. So MB, come back another day when you can stay on top of it and stop deflecting. But I know that's who your master is. So you are you like deflecting because that's where you learned it from. Yeah. You got to deflect. Stick with the red-orange man. One at the top he orange, and at the bottom he red. He is furious. And the matter that he get, the most swollen feet get. Baby, he got them elephant ankles, don't he? Yeah, let's carry on.
But they're next. Here's what the Supreme Court said, the MAGA majority. We disagree. The Federal Reserve is a uniquely structured, quasi-private entity that follows in the distinct historical tradition of the first and second banks of the United States, citing to a case from 2002, which we call Celia Ward.
And then he had a nerve to have them put flags on his name anytime his name came up in that file.
Family member or a friend to care for you after.
Come on.
MEMPHIS will pay them to work for you. Visit our website to learn more.
Okay. Ready to avoid talking about salary?
Oh, okay. He back. Hey, everybody came in. Hey, Pamela.
The point here is they're unique. The Federal Reserve, it goes back for members of the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors or other members of the Federal Open Market Committee.
You're welcome, Miss Tom. Have a good one.
So in other words, they're saying, hey, if you let it happen to us, they're next. Here's what the Supreme Court said, the MAGA majority. We disagree. The Federal Reserve is a uniquely structured, quasi-private entity that follows in the distinct historical tradition of the first and second banks of the United States, citing to a case from 2002, which we call Celia.
I realize that we got someone that's a convicted felon that's a president right now, Mark. That's all that matters to me right now, today. He's a convicted felon. So like I said, this is this the best? This is the best that the other party could do? This is the best y'all got? Really? Again, like I said, y'all should they should go into the federal prison, you know, not the state or the county and none of that type of stuff. Go into the federal prison, yeah, and take applications. Because it's my platform. Same reason it matters to you. Yeah, that's why y'all keep bringing up other people. Y'all deflecting. Y'all moving the goalposts. Stay right here. Stay on the 50-yard line. Stop moving the goalposts. Stay with this play. Why do you worried about it? Why? Well, why are you not worried about your president being on Epstein's list? Huh? Why? Why are you not worried or concerned that he's on that list? You don't want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about that? Yeah, but I don't mess with kids. You gonna let him play with your kids, Mark Johnson moment? Huh? You gonna let them spend the night at Uncle Trump's house? Huh? Can your kids, your sister, your mama, do you trust them to stay at Uncle Trump house? Trumpy Dumpy? Huh? Well, let him go and stay going over to the White House. I heard he got some bunkers up. You know, he's scared of something. You know, he's scary. He's scared somebody, the boogeyman, gonna get him. Go on over there. Go on over there and play with him. Okay? Let your kinfolk, your female folk, go stay with and sit on his lap. Yeah, y'all okay with that? So that means you got that Trumpy Dumpy Epstein spirit. Get on away from over here. Get on away from over here. We don't allow that over here. Yeah, get on away from over here. Y'all okay? Okay with putting y'all kids on his lap and shit? Yeah, he could, you know, yeah, y'all okay with that, baby? Get on away from here. He over here talking about he would date his daughter. Type of shit is that? Y'all should have known then something wasn't right with the man. Talking about his daughter fine. What do you have in common with your daughter? Well, I was gonna say SCX. Who says that? And then want her to sit on your lap. Man, you better go.
So, what's the point there? The point there is very
Thank
unique.
you, Kevin.
The Federal Reserve. It goes back to our historical tradition of the first couple of banks that were around, like Alexander Hamilton times, and we.
Listen, everybody is not on the files. Everybody is Precious. Shut up, stop. Cause one thing is for sure. He said Bill Clinton on it. If Obama was on it, as much as he despised Obama, he would have said Obama was gone by the time he was in office. So stop that. Everybody is not. Did not visit Epstein Predator Island. So stop that. You are a lie. You acting like you got that spirit. You got that spirit of lying, that spirit of cover up. You got that spirit. No, sir. Yeah.
States, citing to a case from 2002, which we call Celia Ward. So, what's the point there? The point there is very unique. The Federal Reserve. It goes back to our historical tradition of the first couple of banks that were around,
it's power problem.
Hamilton times, and we can't. And the president would not be able to fire somebody except for cause. That's why you see Trump starting to use the F word, fraud. He committed fraud. His fraud. There's fraud in the building and the redevelopment of the Federal Reserve building. Now that redevelopment's been going on for 3 or 4 years. And yes, it's over budget by a lot. It's over budget by like $700 million. However, the Federal Reserve has major, according to Jay Powell, who wrote a letter back to Donald Trump and to Russ Vought and said, hey, listen, I'm not the builder. I'm not the developer.
Well, until I see it
needed to be accomplished by the redevelopment, the restructuring,
I ain't buying it.
The renovation, including major structural issues that need to be shored up. I can tell you from my own kind of the smaller development world,
y'all killed me trying to put everybody in the same pot. It's gumbo. Everybody in it. Everybody. Nope. Prove it. Show me some criminal paperwork that got Obama name in there. Show it to me. Show me. Now, he may not have done everything everybody wanted him to do, but nope, I do not put him in the same category. You a lie and the truth ain't in you. Baby, he would have loved to be able to say Obama. He would have loved it. You see, every time they try to say, oh, it was his administration. Oh, he did it. Oh, no, he wrote the list. Oh, no, it is a list, but Obama did it. Yeah, that's just like back in the day when somebody else did something and they blamed it on the black people and the whole mob came to the black person's house, you know, a whole mob knowing good and damn well it was a lie. Yeah, I ain't finna play with you, Precious. Yeah.
Shoring up structural deficiencies is very, very expensive.
And you sound like the old Uncle Tom who be saying, well, yeah, I think it was. I think I did see him. Yeah, Master. Yeah, he said he may be part. Yeah, you just going along with the program. You ain't got your own damn mind. You was going along, want to blame somebody other than.
Remember that name. Russ Vought is not only your current Office of Management and
well, where is it?
Basically running the nation's checkbook.
Where's the proof?
He's also effectively the head of Doge. He's been the head of Doge even when.
Stop it! You ain't got no proof. You just talking.
And he is the architect. He is the creator It is his fevered imagination from which Project 2025 came. He was a leader in the Heritage Foundation. He was in the shadow government for Donald Trump while they were, out of power for a couple of years, and he was always going to go back to that Office of Management and Budget. And they used that position in a way with a giant sword to lose $3 trillion. The entire budget bill that was created came out of the fevered mind of Russ Vought. So they sicked Russ Vought on Jay Powell. Again, he doesn't have to leave.
No, your mama stuck on the plantation, Shannon.
It's not going to lead to him being fired.
Your mama.
Although they're trying to drum it up now.
Her ass, they had to.
And if I'm Jay Powell, for the good of the country and to avoid Trumponomics, stay in your chair. The nation.
Yeah, it's your mama who was out in the outhouse, sneaking in the cabins. Fuck you mean? Yeah. Y'all ain't never been satisfying. Y'all always have to come over to the other side to get some real satisfaction. Do we really want to have that talk? Shannon? Yeah. The men were creeping and the women was too. Couldn't raise your own kids. Your nanny had... them nannies had to... The ones who talk like Shannon. I'm talking about the ones who's talking like Shannon. If it don't apply, let it fly. Yeah. She called herself being funny. So I said, do we really want to go there, Shannon? Couldn't keep your asses from up out of there. I ain't drunk. I ain't had nothing to drink. But you a guest, and you better learn where you are. You're a guest. And you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Let's go. Don't get mad at me, because the person that y'all chose is a creep and like to play with little girls. Don't get mad at me. Yeah, they coming to attack me.
Trump.
The truth is, it will set y'all free.
Folding from the.
I don't care who the predator is.
To even federal judges to a certain extent, and certainly the United States Supreme Court. Somebody stand up for Americans.
Please.
Our economy.
And that don't have nothing to do with no race. Somebody stand up for the country, period. Because this fat fuck up here is not. Okay? Look at him. Look at him. Look like a mad dog.
Jay Powell. And even if you leave on May 2026, which you're going to leave on May 2026, stay on the Board of Governors for 2 more years until 2028 to let that seat be filled
get mad at me.
the next president of the United States, which I'm sure with our help here is going to be a Democrat. So until my next report, this is Michael Popak on Midas Touch Network and on Legal AF. Come over to Legal AF, the YouTube
well, then
channel.
leave. Then leave, native. Why you here?
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there.
Yeah, why y'all here?
A daily roundup that I do called Wait For It.
Why y'all here? Let me help y'all out. Let me make it difficult. Yeah, let's see how true to it you are. How about this? Let me make it difficult for you to pop in and run your mouth. Let me make it difficult for you. Shame on me. Shame on me to see if y'all can come over here and act like y'all had some sense and stop making excuses for PDF files. But I see that y'all can't do that. Some of y'all, the one if it don't apply, let it fly. If it don't apply, let it fly. Okay. Yeah, don't get mad at me because y'all in love with a PDF filer and been one for years and is being exposed. Do not get mad at me. Okay? Next time, choose someone with that really qualifies, because I just don't want to believe that y'all thought that was the best thing since sliced cheese.
Missing in much of the MAGA frenzy over the Jeffrey Epstein files are the voices of survivors of the sexual abuse he perpetrated against them. Many, like our next guest, have joined the call for transparency and for the Trump administration to release the files as promised. This comes as Virginia Giuffre, an outspoken survivor of sex trafficking by Jeffrey Epstein, died apparently by suicide at age 41 in April. She was the first survivor to come out publicly against Epstein and his co-conspirator, who remains in prison. She also sued Prince Andrew for sexually assaulting her when she was 17. The disgraced prince was forced to step away from his royal duties and settle with Giuffre in 2022. Her family said in a statement, quote, Virginia was a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse and sex trafficking. She was the light that lifted so many survivors. He promised. Unquote. Just last week, when the FBI and Department of Justice announced there was, quote, no incriminating client list, it also said Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims over 2 decades, far more than previously known. For more, we're joined by Teresa Helm, who is a survivor of sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein.
You really have bad of a job. You have
to lose. She was assaulted by Epstein in the early 2000s. She now works as the...
Well, Elon Musk said he rigged it. So he didn't lose to him. He stole it. He said it out his mouth. He said it. Fat boy up there said that they rigged it. And he won. Yeah, so he didn't win it.
Survivor Services Coordinator for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation.
I played it the other day.
A 2024 piece for Newsweek is headlined, I'm a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. The documents are an opportunity. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Brian.
You, Teresa Helm, have talked about the dangers of grooming.
Well, if he wouldn't have rigged it, if they wouldn't have rigged it, how can you beat a rig? Precious, shut up. Stop. You cannot win when someone cheats. So how can you grade or rate somebody based on somebody cheating? No. So I guess you think he's doing a good job right now. You think he's doing a good job? Something wrong with you, Pressure. You sick in the head too.
See all of this taking place, the uprising.
You say he's doing a great job.
Lost our what?
He the best. Don't be mad at us, Pressure, cause who you voted for failed you. He's a failure. He is a failure. And you made a bad choice. So why don't you take on the position of going to the pen, the federal penitentiary, and recruiting, since y'all okay with criminals? Okay? Don't get mad because you made a bad choice in who you voted for. Yeah.
Talk about how you first met Jeffrey Epstein.
He is not.
How you were brought
he's
to
not
him,
holding up to his part of the bargain. Period. Bottom line.
Hello. Good morning. I can certainly talk to that. So I was attending college out in California at the time, and was a full-time student and a full-time employee there. And so that began the process of recruitment to grooming, passed along the line from various people as far as, this is an opportunity that I'd like for you to see if you're interested in, and go talk to this person. So after speaking with a couple young women about an opportunity that I thought I was being blessed with at the time, I eventually met with Ghislaine Maxwell, who really, what she did was pretty astounding in the fact that Within a day, I was convinced that I was in a safe, healthy, wonderful environment, blessed with an opportunity to pursue a career that I had only dreamed of having. In fact, that was my dream, to do what she had stated I would do alongside her, working for her. She was very polite and kind. She built trust in a very, within hours, I thought that I had really landed the opportunity of a lifetime. My family was very pleased that I was there interviewing with her, which is what the intention, that's what I thought I was there for, was an interview, and things went so amazingly well. And then she was so successful in all of that very, I would call it, master manipulation. She was very calculated in her craft and did it very well. I was very young. I mean, I was an adult, 22 years old. However, I had such big dreams and aspirations and determination, and really wanted to make the most of this opportunity that I thought that I was getting, to the point where at the end of my time with Ghislaine Maxwell, although I hadn't known that there was a partner, as she referred to him, that I would be meeting at the end of my time with her, I hadn't heard Jeffrey or any other person's name the entire time, from beginning sitting behind the desk at work in California at the college, to meeting Sarah Cullen at the beach, to who then introduced me to Ghislaine. I had no idea that there was a final person that I was going to go meet. And once I learned of him by the name of Jeffrey, I did not, I paused and thought about some things, waved any kind of red flag in my mind, because again, she was so, Ghislaine was so good at what she had done and built that trust in me. And so then I walked myself to Jeffrey's home later that day to what I thought was to interview with him, without really a lot of question, actually being quite excited, because I thought, well, if I was so successful here with Ghislaine, which he has really made me believe that I have been, and now I get the opportunity to go complete this, like a second round of the interview. And that was really, I walked myself into tragedy. I had no idea. I actually should, and I will reframe that. I didn't walk myself into tragedy. I was lured there. I was coaxed there, coerced there, under false and fraudulent, conditions and expectations.
And it was then that Jeffrey Epstein assaulted you?
That's right. There in his very big, beautiful home there in Manhattan. The home that Ghislaine was raving about after I had been complimenting her on her home and speaking about the different various buildings and the architecture and how much I enjoyed it, and comparing different cities to New York. And then she raved about his. If I thought hers was great, wait till I see his. Yeah, so it was there. Mm-hmm. So you have joined the call for the Epstein files to be released. Can you explain why you feel this is so important? Where I stand with all of this is in, utter solidarity with survivors of this entire nightmare that's just been going on, ongoing for decades, with these people that have gotten away with so much for so long. Whether it was a failure of the system back in the 90s, whether failure of the system again in the early 2000s. There are so many women, and at the time even, children, that have been harmed by these people. I really urge everyone to focus the commitment, the attention, all this time, effort, and energy onto bringing to light what needs to bring to light for these survivors and their healing, and less about political weaponization of anything, because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people's lives, and it should not be weaponized either way in any administration, no matter who's in control at the time, who did what when, who's doing what now. Transparency is key, because we cannot move forward as a society and as a culture without these fundamental changes of doing the right thing and holding people accountable, because we can't continue to have systems of power that just get away, or people, whether it's a system or a person. We cannot continue to have these people or systems continue to get away with anything that they can get away with, because they're skating through, they're dodging accountability, there's too much money involved, so people silence through money. We have got to change. It's degrading our society to continue to allow these predators and perpetrators to get away with harming so many people. Those that harm and exploit, they have to be silenced, not the survivors continuing to be silenced. Because when you don't have accountability, you don't have justice. We are so far out of balance with justice. It's almost like, Lady Liberty, she can take a small step to the ground, because we're so uneven, where survivors are holding on, clinging on to the hope, which tends to be, one thing that you can't take away from a survivor. Is how we get here. We survive through it because we have so much hope. But hope tends to get shattered often, and it's like the onus is on us to pick up the pieces and try to get louder and louder. Our silence is very loud within us. We have to then, we're tasked with rising back up, fighting bigger, fighting louder, screaming from the mountaintops, like who is going to do something, because we are setting horrible influences to our children and to our youth of what you can't get away with, depending on who you are, what position you are in. And as I said, I just feel like oftentimes we have these huge profile cases where people are harming others, and there's just such a big, did this really happen to you? Well, if it did, what about that? We have to get to the point where we are survivor focused in the justice system, because we're such a huge part of it that we have to stop politicizing everything and listen to the survivors, listen to the ones that have the lived experience. You cannot take this experience. People can say there's nothing there. You cannot take the lived experience away from us. Not that we wanted it in the first place, but here it is. It lives with us. It remains with us. We're fighting for justice. You cannot take away our lived experience.
Well, Teresa Helm, I want to thank you so much for being with us. We're going to link to your piece. I'm a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. The documents are an opportunity. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
Oh, okay. Thank God she survived. She's an overachiever. Yeah, please hit the like button. Double tap. So this one is.
Secrets.
Talk about this Wall Street. They set that ass up. Led him right on led him right on over him so that they can further expose him. Let's hear this.
Just crazy crap. Murdoch family wants the fight against Donald Trump. That's why they published the article in the Wall Street Journal, which they had to do, having been given credible evidence that in a 2006 scrapbook album 50th birthday party card thing for Epstein, Donald Trump contributed something for the scrapbook that was obscene. That was a doodle of his, of a female genitalia, along with a note to his buddy at the time, Jeffrey Epstein. But Murdoch wants this fight. They didn't back their way into this for the Wall Street Journal. And when I say Wall Street Journal and the Murdoch family, just think Fox News. Fox News is about to recalibrate against Donald Trump. After Jan 6th, Rupert Murdoch said, maybe not publicly, but he hasn't denied it either, that he hoped that January 6th would be the end of Donald Trump's political career, and that they were intent
They
on
walked
making
his
him
ass
a
right on up in there.
person. You don't think that having spent $800 million to settle a case because Fox News fell down the rabbit hole pushed there by Donald Trump about the big lie that there was fraud in the election, that they had to settle with Dominion voting machines because of all of those crazy loonies, team crazy around Donald Trump that kept parading themselves onto Fox News, a willing Fox? You don't think that Rupert Murdoch, however old he is, doesn't want to get retribution? And Lachlan Murdoch, his son, isn't going to make it happen? What did the famous philosopher Tony Soprano once said? Revenge is like cold cuts. Yeah. Now's the revenge. I assure you that the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch wants the fight with Donald Trump, and they'll come out on top. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. Let's talk about now that the dust has settled with the lawsuit got filed. He was going to threaten the lawsuit. Trump's going to threaten the lawsuit. They're going to publish the lawsuit because they were given 3 days advance notice by the reporter. And he had time to go to social media and start saying it's a heaping pile of crap and doo-doo, and I'm going to sue Rupert Murdoch, sue the pants off of him. I got a big colossal lawsuit. I could write all this stuff for Donald Trump. Now that that is over, and we've had a chance to look at the lawsuit, I've got the lawsuit right here. And I practiced down in Florida, among other places in the country. I've seen the suit. I know what it says. I don't care about any of that. This was all a major distraction from a terrible week Donald Trump was having and everything named Epstein. Just the hits were just coming, one after another. FBI scrubbing Donald Trump's names out of things. Former chief of staff taking to the airways, at least in Al Jazeera, to testify that Donald Trump's definitely in the Epstein files. Ghislaine Maxwell resurfacing to try to beg for a pardon, but keeping the story alive, even though she was convicted of being an accomplice in the sexual predator girl raping ring of Epstein. Bad week. Pam Bondi being fed into the wood chipper by the right-wing MAGA media and the right-wing MAGA social media and the right-wing MAGA who've always hated Pam Bondi. And all that's going on. So he files the lawsuit. Okay, so what? Murdoch knew that was going to happen, obviously. He doesn't care. That's the premise of my hot take. This is not something that the Murdoch family backed into. This is not something that, if anybody thinks out there that the editorial board and the publisher of the Wall Street Journal allowed that article to be front page news, literally on the Wall Street Journal without the Murdoch family approval, you're wrong.
Absolutely.
The publisher of the Wall Street Journal allowed that article to be front page news, literally on the Wall Street Journal without the Murdoch family approval, you're wrong. Wall Street Journal allowed that article to be front page news, literally on the Wall Street Journal without the Murdoch family backed into. This is not something that, if anybody thinks out there that the editorial board and the publisher of the Wall Street Journal allowed that article to be front page news, literally on the Wall Street Journal without the Murdoch family approval, you're wrong. You can leave it in comments. Try to convince me otherwise. It was done intentionally, obviously, by the Murdoch family. they used to have a close relationship. It was symbiotic, especially in the first term. And Fox has always been, until recently, a reliable propagandist for the Trump administration or Trump in exile or Trump everything else. Now, they're not consistent. The Wall Street Journal has a different audience. The Fox News MAGA audience is different, but they have the common ownership of the Murdoch family. Nothing gets published, spoken, or said without the ultimate approval of the Murdoch family. So in the first term, they grew together, right? And look at all the people in Trump's cabinet that came from the Fox and Friends bench, or the Fox News commentators. I mean, every other person in his administration has a connection to Fox and to Fox or the Wall Street Journal. Every one of them. From Pete Hegseth, Fox and Friends weekend anchor, now your Department of Defense secretary, to Tulsi Gabbard, the National Intelligence Director and commentator for Fox, to Carolyn Levitt, the people in the communications department, everybody. So it worked for them until it didn't. And where the breaking point obviously was when Dominion voting systems finally got off the mat and stopped taking crap and being defamed by a combination of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and anybody else that was being trotted out by the Trump administration to push the big lie that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And they would put on conspiracy theorists, crazy crap, by the way, just crazy crap by Sidney Powell and others, and endorsed by Donald Trump, about a Venezuelan businessman leading a conspiracy of having software created by Smartmatic, put in hardware created by Dominion voting systems that flip votes from Trump to Biden. There's a vast cabal conspiracy. And they all went on the air and talked about this, to Lou Dobbs, to Maria Bartiromo, to Tucker Carlson, and others. They all got their ass sued by Dominion voting systems. And then out came spilling out, because they miscalculated the Wall Street Journal, all of the internal emails and communications in which they criticized and ridiculed Donald Trump in the Fox News on-air talent. Tucker Carlson took on Donald Trump, said, and Sidney Powell and others, and Rudy Giuliani, this is crazy shit we're putting on the air. All came spilling out, with the editors not controlling the on-air talent saying, don't bring me this crazy fraud crap, this crazy conspiracy crap, or we need to do it for our audience and to build our audience and to feed our audience. All this spilled out in the open in filings in the Delaware court where the case was handled, Delaware Chancery Court, in a motion for summary judgment where all of the emails and texts were attached. It led to the depositions that didn't go well for Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan Murdoch. That also became public. The general counsel at the time, who got fired from News Corporation after Rupert Murdoch's testimony, trying to placate his boss instead of doing the right thing and tell him the truth, said, I think your deposition went well. He said, well, I don't think you were in the room then. Even Rupert Murdoch knew his deposition didn't go well. And they ultimately settled for $758 million to Dominion. Smartmatic is still suing them in New York State Court. That case is still proceeding. At that time, and at the time of Jan 6th, Rupert Murdoch told people, and it's been reported and never denied, that he hoped that this would dash finally Donald Trump's political career and that he should be a non-person, at least as far as Fox News is concerned. That didn't happen. Obviously, it didn't happen. But that's the break. And now, I don't know what coffin
but these are the
Murdoch
breaks.
is trying to place Trump in, or Trump has placed himself in, but Murdoch is trying to nail that coffin shut. And that's why he ran that front page article. And that's why he was willing to take on Donald Trump. Also, he knows he's got the defenses. He knows that it was properly researched and corroborated. I'm sure the lawyers at the Wall Street Journal, at Dow Jones, which owns the Wall Street Journal, vetted this to within an inch of its life with the reporters. Let me see the evidence. Let me see the scrapbook. Let me see the card. Let me see what you're relying on. And they also said they spoke to people who worked on the prosecution in the Department of Justice. That means FBI, and that means the U.S. Attorney's Office for New York, where Maureen Comey, who just got fired, used to work, who's cooperating. Who is corroborating? There is people in the FBI and the Department of Justice, maybe former, who are corroborating for the Wall Street Journal, or they wouldn't have run the article.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list.
And once you have 2 or 3 corroborators, you run that article. And then if you get sued, Donald Trump has to prove actual malice, meaning reckless disregard for the truth, or that they knew it was true or false. That's one. He has to prove that, Donald Trump. And he'll never be able to do that because they, as they've said in their press release, we stand behind the credibility of our reporting and the vigorous, rigorous reporting standards that we employed. Of course,
Hi, Marsha.
They've got Donald Trump by the short hairs. They've got the witnesses who saw the scrapbook, and they've seen it themselves, along with the body card that was pasted into this scrapbook, and others that were in there have had to corroborate that, or not been able to deny that it's theirs. Alan Dershowitz is in there. Of course, Alan Dershowitz is in there. Remember, he was accused by Virginia Giuffre, who just committed suicide, who was 14 or 15 when she was raped, according to her allegations, by Epstein. And she had charges against Dershowitz, and they have a close relationship, right? So all of that happens. Dershowitz is in there. He's I might have had a thing in there about Vanity Fair and some reference to Jack the Ripper and Jeffrey Epstein. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. I'll put you down for yes, that's your work. That's the problem. It's not a single card pulled out of somebody's backside that claims to be Donald Trump. It's pasted into a scrapbook album birthday card. And that's why it is obvious to me that Murdoch wants this fight to throw the dirt on the grave of Donald Trump. And he's willing to risk the rating.
Absolutely. So he can put out what all the other stuff and just discuss how it was presented, how they were, I just can't wait. He set his ass up again. They digging a grave. They knew he was going to take the bait, and they knew that they was going to be able to nail him, and he fell right into the trap. Y'all need whoever is cool with him like that need to go over to the federal penitentiary and take applications and do some interviews, since they, people like the criminals. I don't get it. Just don't get no PDFers, PDF filers. Don't get none of them. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. Yeah. Yeah.
For Fox. Now, some MAGA already abandoned Fox News. It's hard to believe. I don't even know where they went. Maybe they went to Newsmax, or they just kind of fell down the rabbit hole of the dark web, went into the QAnon sites, just focused on social media, influencers peddling their conspiracy theories like Laura Loomer, and the list goes on. Or they followed Tucker Carlson over to whatever he's doing on YouTube. So they left already. So he already took the hit. And they're still standing, and they're still making money. And it's still a viable network. But he's willing to make a little bit less money at 98 years old, apparently, over this issue. I'm not saying he has integrity. I'm not saying he has character, but he's willing to take another hit over on Fox. Wall Street Journal, MAGA's not reading Wall Street Journal. I mean, some are, but mainly that's a whole different financial services, country club Republican world that reads the Wall Street Journal. I read it to prepare for my job, but along with the Financial Times and some other, Bloomberg and the rest of the financial reporting, Investors Daily, things like that. But on the...
So Murdoch knew he was coming.
The lawyers, having vetted the article, grilled and cross-examined the reporters, looked at the evidence and
It was probably leaked by the Maxwell family. That was just Lane, a way of saying, this ain't what you want. Don't play that game. Don't come up in here playing it. Get me out. I'm going to continue to drop something just about every day. Every other day. Some more pictures and shit done came out. Like, where these been? Yeah, they've been under lock and key. He stirred her up, starting this mess. And now he mad. And he don't want to tell us what the real medical issues are. Yeah. You just trying to get sympathy. They not going for it, DT.
Operating testimony and evidence for themselves before they gave the permission or blessed the publishing of that article. And there's a reason, because Wall Street Journal didn't have to break that story. They could have passed it off to another entity. They could have let another entity make the report. Another news agency, Midas could have broken the report, the like, but that's not what they did. And this is because this is the final countdown and showdown between Murdoch and Trump. And my money is on Murdoch, who first of all has more money than Donald Trump by a lot. Donald Trump may be floating up to $6 billion, but that's a lot of multiples short of what the Murdoch family wealth is, you know? And he can go, I mean, what's going to be next? Murdoch should have his, whatever his visa is to be in the United States revoked because he's not American, or, you know, he's Australian. Donald Trump just wakes up and figures out he's from Australia and the like. But I'll continue to follow this right here on Legal AF.
Thank
Take
you.
a moment.
At the moment.
As you can see, independent commentary on an independent channel not owned by corporate media is so important right now.
Yes, it
help
is.
support it. No money.
Yeah, help support it, cause they tripping.
Urging the court to look right here at this post coming in from President Donald Trump on Truth Social, as he says, I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. There will always be more, MAGA with an exclamation point there. And of course, we are talking about the latest.
Admitted puppy killer and costume wearer, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Christino, went on the Sunday shows on Sunday. And I cannot decide, is she profoundly incompetent?
I'm sorry. Let me go back. I thought that was something else. Bear with me. Y'all hit the like button. Thank you. Hit the like button, please. Feds, hold on.
There will always be more, MAGA with an exclamation point there.
And
look right here at this post coming in from President Donald Trump on Truth Social, as he says, I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, MAGA with an exclamation point there. And of course, we are talking about the latest, all related here to the Jeffrey Epstein case.
He just don't want to accept the fact that he went too far.
Officially asking a federal court to unseal those secret documents related to the case in an effort to put a rest to the controversy that continues here to unfold. Now, the president did say Thursday that he had directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. Bondi then announced that the DOJ would move Friday to ask the court to unseal the transcripts, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche filed that motion Friday, urging the court to release the transcripts. All of this a week after the DOJ did announce that it would not release any more evidence about the sex trafficking investigation into Epstein, who officials say killed himself behind bars in 2019 while awaiting trial.
They say he's still here.
All of the latest for us.
This is not an auto pen, by the way.
I bet you he wished that that card was wrote in the auto pen.
Trump referencing a congressional Republican investigation while signing a bipartisan bill. It regulates a type of cryptocurrency called stablecoins.
I bet you he wish he signed that card with an auto pen so he could blame somebody else.
Of cryptocurrency called stablecoins. The House also passed a bill rescinding $9 billion in federal funding to public media and foreign aid. After the House vote, the president wrote, quote, House approves $9 billion cuts package, including atrocious NPR and public broadcasting, where billions of dollars a year were wasted. Republicans have tried doing this for 40 years and failed, but no more. This is big. Also, the Justice Department officially requested a federal judge unseal grand jury transcripts related to Jeffrey Epstein's 2019 indictment for sex trafficking. It's unclear if a judge will agree to the request. Grand jury transcripts are highly protected. The administration's critics say those transcripts only represent a fraction of the evidence in the Epstein case. Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman, a former federal prosecutor, wrote, Nice try, Attorney General Bondi. What about videos, photographs, and other recordings? What about FBI 302s, witness interviews? What about texts and emails? That's where the evidence about Trump and others will be. The Justice Department request follows a report in the Wall Street Journal that a, quote, bawdy letter bearing Trump's name is included in an album from dozens of Epstein's associates to celebrate his 50th birthday in 2003. The Journal reports the letter contains several lines of typewritten text framed in the outline of a naked woman drawn in heavy marker, including an imaginary exchange between Trump and Epstein. The president told the Journal Tuesday evening, quote, This is not me. This is a fake thing. I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words. And threatened to sue the Wall Street Journal, which shares ownership with Fox News. Fox News has not independently confirmed the truth of the Wall Street Journal's claims about the letter. Vice President J.D. Vance followed, posting on X, quote, Forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter BS. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Trump and Epstein had a falling out in 2004.
He should have been ashamed for bringing this mess up.
President Trump did file a lawsuit over that Wall Street Journal article. Fox News has asked the White House for comment. At the White House, Rich Edson, Fox News.
Rich, thank you so much. And as he mentioned there, President Trump has filed that lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, who on Thursday published an article describing a sexually suggestive letter that the newspaper says bore Trump's name and was included in a 2003 album for Epstein's 50th birthday. The president called the letter, quote, false, malicious, and defamatory. I do want to note here, as Rich did, that the Wall Street Journal shares common ownership with Fox. Fox has not independently confirmed the truth of the Wall Street Journal's reporting. Now, just a short time ago, I spoke with Dr. Matt Dallek, a political historian at the George Washington University, to break down all of the controversy surrounding these files. Dr. Matt Dallek, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And first off, I do want to get right into it here as we talk about that controversy that does surround the Epstein files and the potential for those files release. This scandal here, so to speak, how does it kind of compare to maybe previous political scandals when it comes to public reaction, trust in institutions, and all of that?
That's a really interesting question because I think it's actually hard to compare it to prior Trump scandals, right? If we think about the past decade, most of the Trump scandals or so-called Trump scandals have come from institutions and entities that Trump is able to label liberal and elite, right? The establishment. So think about the Robert Mueller investigation or the Democratic-led impeachment during the first impeachment. You know, Trump has had almost tailor-made enemies. This is different. The Epstein case, most of the blowback is coming from his base, right? His most fervent supporters. And the dynamic, I think, is quite different because the base is saying to Trump, you promised us, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but they're saying you promised us the goods, right? You promised you were going to reveal everything about the Epstein case. You were going to take down the deep state, and we have had nothing so far. And so I think the fundamental difference is that unlike prior controversies and scandals, which always swirl around Trump, this one, the dynamic is a is a betrayal or a perceived betrayal among some of his most fervent supporters. And that we have not, I don't think, seen in any sort of sustained way over the past decade.
One thing that's interesting, and you mentioned this, the fact that it is his own base who essentially has said, we want these released. What's happening here? We had President Trump in a news conference just days ago essentially say that the folks who are his supporters are now past supporters. He called them, quote unquote, weaklings. What kind of, I guess, picture does that paint? What does that say to you to have him saying to his supporters, well, you're not my supporters anymore if you are calling for this?
So Trump has broken with particular individuals who were once very strong supporters. Elon Musk, at one point, he had a bad relationship with Steve Bannon. But those are kind of one-offs, right? He, I think, has pretty rarely, if ever, attacked large numbers of his base, right? Even if it's only 10 or 20%. But, you know, the people who kind of wear MAGA hats, a number of influencers and podcasters, this seemed to be a slightly more sweeping attack than on his supporters. And, you know, the dynamic, if we go back to his first term, was that Trump rarely, if ever, across the base, right? He always maintained that base level of support. And his approval ratings, I think, rarely, if ever, dipped below 40%. This, again, feels, at least that comment that you quoted from, feels like a direct attack on a pretty decent sized swath of his supporters. And, you know, that tells me that, you know, there is some political risk there that he hasn't faced before. I'm not saying or predicting that, you know, large elements of the base are going to finally defect from him. I don't necessarily think that's even going to happen. But again, the dynamic, I think it's worth just stepping back and appreciating that this dynamic is quite different and politically maybe more perilous than what we've seen in prior Trump controversies.
And that was actually going to be my next question, is whether you think in reality, as this all plays out, it's going to have any sort of impact on his popularity among his base. We do know that many Make America Great Again MAGA supporters are all for President Trump. They tend to gravitate toward him. Could this likely have any sort of impact? It sounds like you're saying probably not.
Well, I think the Epstein case in and of itself is not going to be
wouldn't make 4 years. They spoke
destroys Trump's popularity. Like, it's not going to cause his base to crumble.
I don't think that's the real.
It becomes one among several storylines in which Trump is.
Now, y'all, that lady, I'm sure he does have the varicose veins. You know, the oxygen not fully going through, you know, clots, you know, on the way to clots or whatever. But if we remember, she said something being benign. That ain't talking about no veins. They gave a piece of the exam. They didn't give everything, I don't believe, in my opinion. Because she mentioned something about being benign. What's benign? And then another doctor came in behind that they cut off and was talking about congestive, you know, some heart issue things. But carry on.
Perceived as betraying the base.
He never tells the truth.
Bombing Iran, sending weapons to Ukraine, carve-outs for domestic undocumented immigrants, right? Rather than mass deportations. Ways in which actions that Trump is taking, in which some of his supporters believe he is not delivering on what he promised in the 2024 campaign. So if the Epstein, the non-disclosures, the what a lot of people see as this kind of cover-up, right, that Trump is orchestrating around Epstein, if that becomes the kind of tip of the spear for that narrative that Trump is betraying his base on some real promises, that I think is where the political risk comes in.
But he don't never tell the truth, though.
Observers have been predicting that Trump's base is about to crumble or is going to peel off for 10 years, right? I mean, it's been a kind of long-running thread in American politics for a decade. So far be it from me to sit here in July of 2025 and say, oh yeah, you know, Trump's base is going to defect from him. We have not seen it yet. And so I think people have to be very cautious about those kinds of predictions.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem, kind of like you said, over the past 10 years, there have been those predictions. Obviously, it hasn't happened. President Trump reelected to the second term just months ago here. I did want to kind of talk about the grand jury testimony because President Trump called for Attorney General Pam Bondi to kind of file that paperwork, get everything kind of going here. So the grand jury testimony in the Epstein case, do you believe, just in your opinion and expertise, that is enough to kind of feed the public, or is that just going to be maybe the start of this?
That feels much more like the start rather than the end. First of all, it's unclear that a judge is going to even agree to release the grand jury testimony.
And nobody asked for that.
Secret. Even if the judge does release it, who knows what's there? Who knows if something will be redacted? It's likely to raise other questions that will lead to louder demands for the Trump administration to do more. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, I think, has already upset and infuriated folks like Laura Loomer, right? One of Trump's the biggest online champions. So whatever happens with and also with the grand jury testimony, if it does get released, will probably take weeks or months before.
That's not what they asked for. They asked for the list.
One move. I mean, if we back up, and this is, I think, an important point. Trump and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, right, at the FBI, other aides, have been peddling this Epstein conspiracy theory for years. Right. And they have been, they've been pushing it, they've been amplifying it, right? They've been very entrepreneurial about pushing it out into the cultural bloodstream. Well, now that they're in power, in a way, the bill is coming due, right? It's kind of on them to deliver because they said we were going to expose this, horrific cover-up by the deep state of not just Epstein's crimes, but crimes committed by other elites, other powerful people. So
expose it.
It seems like, given where we are now, in the summer of 2025,
expose everybody.
Story. It's not necessarily going to be a leading story every day, of course, but it's also unlikely to
do what you said you was going to do.
Because until and unless Trump produces what he promised to produce, I think these questions from his supporters are going to continue.
My last question for you here. What do you think it is about the Epstein case that people are still so focused on? Why is it still so?
Because he made a big deal about it.
Later.
He made a big deal about it. He forgot he was on that list.
So whether
now we want to see his name.
Why is it still so front and center at this point, years later?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
Why was it important to Donald? Ask Donald.
Explanation.
That is crazy. Why are you asking someone other than Donald? People need to continue to remind him that it was important to him. He was the one that was dangling that carrot over people's head. He is the one who thought that he was going to be Gerardo Guevara and go into the vault. He is the one, not everybody else. Not everybody else. So stop moving. Stop moving the goalposts. This was his cookie. This was what he was going to do. He was going to expose the corruption. He has to be having something else going on with him mentally, that he forgot that he was a big factor in this. That he forgot that was his ace boon coon. Yeah. So people need to stop saying, well, what about Biden? Or what about them? What they did not campaign off of that. That was not what they said. It was an issue to the big orange guy. this was going to be how he left his legacy. He was going to expose all the big wigs and everybody. Yeah, I don't know who he thought. How he thought this was going to play out. Oh, yeah, he was just going to lie and put it on. Okay. Wrong answer. This is his cookie. And there were several people who had that hat on that said that they voted for him because he said that he was going to expose it. And I'm sure if I was a trafficker survivor, a traffic child survivor, whether I liked him or not, I would probably be looking at him like, oh, he's finna be a hero. Oh, he's finna save the day. He's finna help heal a lot of people, boys and girls, ladies and guys who have been trafficked and taken advantage of. So, yeah. So how dare you now not be concerned about the victims? Everybody wants to say, how long it took us so, why it take us so long to say something? Well, now you know, your partner, your homie, and he wasn't the only predator that he was close and tight with. It's several of them. So it ain't just his name he want to save. It's some people that he done made some deals with. They done a whole bunch of dirt together. And it's going to be a whole big old explosion. Yeah. And I don't care what party they are with. It is not a Democrat, Republic thing. It's not a liberal. It's none of that. It's about the victims, period. I don't care who is exposed. I want to make it clear why people are running over here, bringing up all these other people. I don't care about none of that. I care about the victims. I hope that they heal. I hope that they get this confirmation, validation, you know, to know that it wasn't nothing wrong with them. It wasn't nothing that they did wrong. You know, they were eager. They was excited. They had goals and dreams that was taken advantage of by predators. That had a whole child, allegedly a whole, well, no, he got convicted. Yeah, a whole child sex trafficking, and there were thousands. How dare you? How dare you not want to help the people heal? How dare you? But you don't want to because you was a part of it. And that's a period after that. Let's keep going. I'm almost, yeah.
The Epstein case, and really the conspiracy theory, right? That the government may have murdered Epstein. You know,
they say he's still alive.
The government was covering up other people involved in these horrific child sex trafficking crimes. That story, I think, resonates with people, that conspiracy theory, in part because it's a tale about the corruption, the perfidy of the deep state, right? It's sort of this ultimate betrayal that the government is. It's similar in that sense to QAnon. And this idea that within the deep state, there are people who are enemies, who are destroying the country, who are committing these monstrous crimes. And Trump has argued for a decade, and argued quite effectively, that he is the one to dismantle that deep state. He is the one to expose it, to destroy it, and, you know, as he says, make America great again in the process of doing so. So the Epstein case and the conspiracy theory, I think it contains, it's lurid, but it also contains a lot of the core elements in Trump's larger narrative about Americans being persecuted, being victimized by this deep state. And the Epstein case, I think, as a result, it's like a symbol of that persecution. It's a really ugly symbol of just how horrific the government can be to cover up, again, these monstrous deeds.
How dare you?
Dr. Matt Dallek, a lot of area covered there. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Anything else that we left out? Anything you want to make sure to mention here before I let you go?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground.
Okay, good people. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to go ahead and end on that. I'm going to start. I think it may have been one more. But, yeah, this is horrible. It's horrible that you would play with the people like that who really trusted you. Why? I don't know. I mean, I don't understand why they did, but they did. And I know that there are a lot of people who are let down. And that's why they're not letting up. I don't blame them. I'm glad they're not. It's time to expose them all. Again, I don't care who they are. Trump, yeah. And he needs to stop playing in the people's face. He needs to man up, put his big boy drawers on, man up and stand in. You know, what he said he was going to do, stand in it. Yeah. Yeah, he needs to stand up in it. He ain't man enough. He's scared. Something else just recently happened. Hold on, I'm going to try to see if I can find it again. It wasn't that long ago. So recent. Yeah, he needs to man up. He needs to man up for real. Like right now. Yeah.
Epstein Gate continues as the man's own brother just majorly spilled the beans. Beans pair well with tacos, don't they? Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. Washington continues to ongoing debate regarding the FBI files on Jeffrey Epstein.
I wouldn't be surprised, Brian.
Close friend of Donald Trump.
They say he's still alive, though.
For his part, continues to obfuscate, calling the story boring. Of course, the more he does that, the guiltier he looks. In fact, earlier this week, he did this.
The president isn't hiding his frustration with the fascination over these files. He's calling the whole thing a hoax after he and his allies previously fed into the conspiracy theories around Epstein, the convicted sex offender. In the Oval Office, the president was asked
if he did, Brian, he should have just left it alone.
Just end the controversy.
Ain't no while in no meantime. No, it's no while in the meantime, Mr. Man. We're not talking about nothing other than Trump and Epstein. That's it. That's all we're talking about. We ain't bringing up nothing about nobody else. We stand right here.
Well, she can release it.
And we're talking about whoever is on the predators list. Okay? So don't bring up nothing else. I'm going to get you up out of here. No, sir. Absolutely not. We're talking about these two right here. If you have a problem with that, do I need to remove you? Do I need to remove you? Just let me know. Okay, so that's absolutely, he's not on the list, so why are you bringing him up? Absolutely is not. Absolutely is not. Because he would have said Obama before he said Bill Clinton. He went way back and pulled up Bill Clinton. He didn't say Biden. He didn't say Obama. He said Bill Clinton. So why would you bring up Obama? Check yourself. Stop trying to put other people in it. As much as he don't like Obama, he would have said Obama first. Especially because he don't like him.
Fed into the conspiracy theories around Epstein, the convicted sex offender. In the Oval Office, the president was asked if he would release more documents to just end the controversy.
Yeah, he lied and said he made the list after he said it wasn't a list. So if he was on the list, why would he be saying he made up the list? Go on now, you finna irritate me. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
Whatever's credible, she can release it. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone.
Not the best optics, are they?
Of course, you should have left him alone.
Daughter of James Comey, the FBI director who likely handed Donald Trump the 2016 election and whom Trump fired during his first term. She also happened to be the prosecutor of Jeffrey Epstein's gal pal, Ghislaine Maxwell. So, depending on how you look at this, either Trump fired Ms. Comey because she's related to her father, who Trump hates, or because she prosecuted the ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein.
And she was about to hit their asses with another lawsuit.
Maxwell? Stay tuned. These rumors continue to fly. Yesterday, CNN broke this little story where a former Trump employee claimed he saw some very young girls with Jeffrey Epstein and none other than Donald Trump.
I mean, it was, in my mind, it was his best friend. From really the time I was there for 4 years. His name was, not constant, but it came up quite a bit. And, one incident that I think kind of, proves their closeness and how much they hung out together.
Shit. He should have forgot about Epstein.
And the commission was waiting. The inspectors were waiting at my office. And Donald and Jeffrey had come into the casino in the wee hours of Sunday morning, 1:30 in the morning.
That's what
two buddies. They had 3 women with them, and the commission was waiting for me because they had determined that the women that they brought down were underage to be on the casino. And when I asked them how they knew that, by the way, one of them was the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world. Okay, and this guy happened to be a tennis fan, and he said, "Jack, I know she's 19 years old." Okay, so
hold on.
And women that they brought down, and the commission was waiting for me because they had determined that the women that they brought down were underage to be on the casino. And when I asked them how they knew that, by the way, one of them was the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world. Okay, and this guy happened to be a tennis fan, and he said, "Jack, I know she's 19 years old."
A teenager.
Okay. So, and to
that could not be in the casino
with a friend and 3 other people and fly down to Atlantic City. I mean, you can connect those dots.
The plot thickens, does it not?
Oh, wow.
People are starting to come out of the woodwork now, which again begs the question, what is Donald Trump so afraid of, and why did his administration so change its tune from vowing to release all of the Epstein files to now claiming they don't really even exist? Which brings us to today's moment of incrimination. Speaking with CNN, reporter Julie Brown said that Jeffrey Epstein's brother dropped a pretty big load of nacho cheese on the taco president.
Well, let me just set the record straight. I know what he said that Epstein told him when he was in prison, but Epstein told his own brother, his brother has been public about this, that he told him that if the public knew everything that he knew about Trump, they would have to cancel the election. And that's his brother's words, not mine. So there is something there. I'm not saying it means that the president did anything illegal or he was involved with Epstein's operation at all. But, the story that he told his brother is different from the story that he told that lawyer number 1.
He is Doe 174.
He also said there's no list. I agree that there probably isn't a list. But my understanding is that Epstein kept files, and he did keep files on people. I don't know whether the Justice Department got their hands on those files, but Epstein had some kind of records. It might not have been, and I don't believe it was in a formal list that everybody wants to refer to. So I just think that Epstein told different people different things, and it's hard.
He called it a list. His AG called it a list. So we want the list. Okay, yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye. Hit the like button on the way out.